Tragic death of 20-year-old Charlottesville resident Kyle Brennan. Kyle was found dead of a gunshot wound to the head in the home of his Scientologist father in Clearwater, Florida, in February of 2007.
Well, we live in very ugly, difficult times, so I don't think I'm really doing anything that violates, in terms of whatever we're going to call it, decency, morality regarding DOA or even Alonzo. Material being put out there can be used for fair use. However, I would have to note two dilemmas with Kyle's family, right, in terms of what we can legitimately comment on. And just for the record, I've never seen this. Apparently, his autopsy report is being circulated by Jeffrey and his usual band of monsters. I'm not taking a look at that, but I am trying to be a professional researcher. So if you deal with this kind of material, I think you want to be sensitive, but that's just me. But I've not seen, for the record, the autopsy. Not that I think we need to see it, because it's pushing the church narrative. And that's what I'm going to focus on here, is that the church is trying to say that this is just a tragic passing. It's not a case of murder. So the onus is to just prove it is definitely not what it appears to be. And we can raise legitimate questions. And I will be citing some things from Dr. Scott Kramer, who died recently under mysterious circumstances. I'm not going to push any conspiracy narrative here, but it is a very tragic passing as well. So Doug's material now is what it is. It's like this great archive. But again, I don't know his final will and testimony. Did he want or even think it's right for people to tap into these resources? I would imagine so. He was an educator in a certain way. But I do.
With the Church of Scientology, when you're in court, it becomes a protracted act of warfare. It is about destroying you and who you are. If you're a mother just seeking answers and the truth for her dead child, it doesn't matter. They want to destroy you. And I cannot put enough emphasis on that. It does not matter. This is an organization, and I will call it a church, but they will ask you to check your soul at the door.
I didn't know Doug at that level, but still we'd be tapping into his work, so I want to give due credit. So it's really him, Alonzo, and some other people I cannot name due to confidentiality, but they have verified and double, triple verified some suspicions I had about the official church. And I want to make explicitly clear, even though I will be, quote, attacking Scientology, I want to be very specific. This is a criticism of the Miscavige family, the official church, right? The official Florida organizations tied to Scientology, the police department, so on and so forth, the Florida political establishment. No criticism necessarily of Scientology per se or independent Scientology. Again, I'm not a Scientologist, don't particularly care for it, but that is a separate controversy, and I think too many times people intermix these controversies. If you want to hate Scientology as a philosophy or ideology or its practices, whatever, that is not relevant. What is relevant here is a family that has a lot of power in Scientology using the official organization, which is technically, remember, a charity, to cover up a very, again, I have to say YouTube, it's alleged case of murder, but given the whole church record, not just murder, but possibly mass murder. But again, these are allegations. But my own personal opinion, and that is all it is that, yes, Kyle was murdered. So big preface out of the way. Please be ready, because this is very dark material.
Why did witnesses who were there that night appear to change their stories every time they were deposed? There are countless other questions and mysteries about Kyle's passing, yet there are few answers.
Semantics. And I'm hoping Carissa will correct us and we'll start to give the facts regarding the case rather than the church's narrative. But here she is running the church's narrative. And again, I had it in my mind too until I actually looked and reviewed the evidence. Okay, so we seem to have some kind of controversy here, right? Where we've got these people that are running the church's narrative, and then there's this Alonzo guy who's yelling about the evidence, etc. So let's ask Victoria Brennan, who's right here, recently on that particular video of Maurice's, a woman named
the detective who was on the scene that night. He did testify that
he thought that it appeared that Kyle's father took control of that medication.
Yeah.
He testified to that, and that his father admitted that he took the medication. Later on, the story changed, and it was he created another storyline where he says Kyle gave him the medication, and because there is nobody there to witness that, um, there was a decision to be made. Is he telling the truth, or is he making this up to avoid liability?
With Victoria asking questions of the Clearwater police. 8 years later, many of those basic questions are still unanswered. Thanks to all the lying done by the police, the medical examiner's office, and the Scientologists involved, we still don't know how Kyle died or whether he was murdered.
Because I thought that was the proper word for it.
So you left the state fair, you said around 10 p.m.?
Yeah, we closed the book at 10.
And you drove straight home?
Yep.
And did you go straight to your apartment or somewhere else?
Yeah, I went to Denise's. I remember I had to pick up like a book or something from her. And it was on the way home. So I called her on the causeway. I said, hey, listen, can I pick up that book? And I was just going to pick it up and then go. And then I just met her in the foyer. And she just, we just talked a little bit, how to go, blah, blah, blah. How's the state fair or something like that. And I said, I got to go, I got to go home. So I was only there for maybe 5 minutes. Not even.
Why was it so important to put a book at night?
I don't know. It was just one of these books that I wanted to read. I forget what it was about.
What was your name at the time you became a member? That night, February 16, 2007.
I did.
What was the first time you heard from him?
He called on the way home from work, and he needed to borrow a book.
What book did he need to borrow?
Book of e-meter drills.
Was he an auditor?
No.
Was he self-auditing?
No.
What's an e-meter drill book used for?
Well, in the process of selling books, there's you can do a thing called a pinch test, and it requires that you be able to read the needle on a meter. So he had expressed some uncertainty, and he just wanted to get the drill book and practice.
Was it his book?
That was my book.
So it was a good home improvement book, and I was doing an electrical job that was coming up, and I wanted to refresh, get more knowledgeable on how to do the job.
Nor was gunshot residue found on his hands. Why did Kyle's father call Scientologists to the scene that night for their advice before anyone even called 911? Why was the bullet that killed Kyle never found? Why did police investigators lie repeatedly to members of Kyle's family?
Did they call you so late at night?
Right.
Tom Brennan's appearance at that time. Anything out of the ordinary?
No, just regular. Fine.
Did he mention where he had been?
I knew the event at work.
Where?
I don't know if I asked him what he did. I don't know if he was working at the organization in Tampa or if he was selling books. I'm not sure, but I know whatever functions he was doing, he was performing his job.
What's the next thing that happened?
Phone rang. Tom said, "Oh my God, Denise. I believe he said Kyle's dead."
How soon after that he left your house did he call you to tell you that?
It was almost the exact amount of time to drive down to his house and walk upstairs. Maybe 10, 12 minutes.
Do you have any idea why, of all the people in his life, he would call you other than his own wife or 911 or someone?
Probably was his closest friend at that time.
How long did that conversation last when he called you up and said, either shot himself or committed suicide? How long did it last?
That's the amount of time it takes him to say, "Oh my God, Kyle's dead. Kyle, blah, blah, blah. What should I do? Call 911. Kyle, blah, blah, blah. What should I do? Well, blah, blah, blah. What should I do?
So when you got downtown Clearwater, Tom Brennan, you met up with your daughter, came up to Brennan, and then we decided to go up into the apartment.
I decided to ran up, looked around, nothing. And downstairs, it was fine. I mean, it was all cleaned up. There was there was nothing like, they cleaned it up well.
Was found in not his bedroom in his father's apartment, but in his father's bedroom. And his shattered head, they found stuffed into it.
That was all of his people. No one had been in the apartment prior to that. In other words, there was no brain debris or anything on the walls or the floor or on the bed. There was anything that was, I don't even think there was anything that was bloody or anything.
Yeah, I didn't clean up the apartment.
Something that interested me. There's something like handyman book. It's like it's something that Jerry had that was dealt with like electrical work, and I wanted to learn more about how to do it. You know, so it was a good like home improvement book. And I was doing an electrical job that was coming up, and I wanted to refresh, like get more knowledgeable on how to do the job. He, gave it to me. Yeah.
What book do you need to borrow?
The meter drills.
This was Jerry Gentile's book.
I guess I'm assuming it was. I don't know if I don't know for sure. But it was just like
He was doing handyman work.
no, he never did. But I think he had like just being a guy. He had some stuff that was like he had a bunch of tools and everything. But I didn't know that he was like Mr. Bean was a lot man. He was just like one of these guys. Like who doesn't have some kind of thing in their house that deals with repairing something.
So what time do you think you actually got to Denise's house?
I'm thinking about 11 o'clock.
Did you call time before you got to Denise's house?
Yeah, I did. I was going to call him and tell him, like I'll be there in about 15 minutes. I'm just going to pick up a book from Denise. I left him a message.
Didn't know who this guy was.
We had no idea. He just said Jerry. And
you come to find out that Jerry was there.
Right. And we have to say, we're going to talk about the red flags. There's the first red flag right there from the first evening, the first phone call. I mean, why wasn't it the Clearwater Police? Why wasn't it Tom's father? Why wasn't it Kyle's father, Tom? Why, it's extremely troubling.
Yeah. And it opens the door, which we will talk about today. Why was this man there?